Welcome to the Zen AF Hustle Podcast. I'm your host, Julia Garcia Devaney. I'm a life and mindset coach for female founders, and my mission is to help thousands of ambitious, busy women become the number one asset in their life and business. Tune in as I share with you the behind the scenes of my own ambitious journey and help you bring the Zen back into your hustle so you can create the impact you desire and truly love your own ambitious journey as well. Welcome, and let's get into the episode. Hello, my ambitious leaders. Whoa. How are you guys doing? How are you feeling? It's a gloomy Thursday here in Miami, and I am loving it. I'm so glad to be able to record this for you today, especially because I just have not been able to make it onto my social medias like at all lately. So as you guys may or may not know from my last episode, your girl is about 7 weeks preggers. The nausea and the fatigue is rampant. So I'm just taking time to be kind to myself and, just listen to my body and do what I need to do in order to take care of myself first and foremost. I don't know why this is so much easier for me. Maybe because I don't have to look at myself. There's some energy that has to be really exuded to look at myself and talk into the camera. And also I just really love this format so much more than stories. I don't know, I'm still trying to figure it out, but I would love to actually know what you guys like to see in terms of stories from me. Do you like to see just behind the scenes? I've been thinking about this a lot in terms of what I like to see in things with the people that I follow. And if I'm being super honest at the moment, I don't know if I'm just in general, just a little bit not in the social media season or something. But I just don't really care a lot about what anybody is posting, especially talking to camera videos. I feel like those videos I use on TikTok. I like to consume those videos on TikTok. And in stories, I just like to see kind of what people are up to in a sense, just not talking, not doing much, but just what they're up to in the day to day. And I like to comment or be oh, cool, you're up to that or whatever, oh, me too, or that's cool. Just very surface level stuff, which is interesting. But I'd love to get you guys' take on what you guys like to see in terms of stories in general and with me. Anyways, so speaking of stories, I have a couple of stories for you guys today. Today's episode is my attempt to really start bringing in the life component to this podcast, to my brand, to my business, because, I actually don't just, I coach on mindset as a whole for ambitious women and female founders and ambitious leaders and entrepreneurs. But I don't often just talk about the life part. Sometimes I talk about the business part, mostly because, it's a very clear kind of goal-driven area. But when it comes to life, it's a huge part of my business, and it's what I speak to my clients about quite often, even though they have very specific business goals. But just to be clear and to reiterate, I'm not a business coach, I'm a mindset coach, and you just happen to be on a very ambitious journey. And that journey has a lot to do with your life. So I just want to talk about how mindset, coaching, and these tools that I have played such a big role in my everyday life. But in this episode, I want to focus on specifically motherhood. Being that I'm almost 7 weeks pregnant and all, I think that it would be a good time to touch on it. So speaking of stories, I really hope you guys had a great Easter holiday if you celebrate Passover, all of those different holidays that are happening during that time. We had a lovely holiday as well. And there's a couple of things that happened this past weekend, especially with my little one, my 2-year-old, that got me thinking yeah, I'm really glad that I have mindset and coaching and these tools kind of, always at my disposal, and that I have the muscle memory kind of to use. The first story I want to touch on, I guess, is the my Easter story, we actually went to do a little Easter egg hunt at one of the parks here. It's called Jungle Island or Jungle Island. There's a bunch of parrots and monkeys, some like different animals there. We like really love to go there, but they did an Easter egg hunt, and I thought it was going to be a good option because it's not as far as this farm that we usually go to. Like, I'm nauseous, I'm preggers, like I just can't. So we went there, and the way they did the Easter egg hunt was completely absurd, to say the absolute least. They lined up everybody behind a gate. Then once everybody was lined up, and then once everybody got to the front of the gate, they started separating the kids from the parents, which I already was like a little bit like, what the heck? Because my youngest is 2 years old. She's quite attached to me, and she's not really ready to like venture off on her own. Luckily, she has her sister, who's my 4-year-old, to kind of, be next to at the very least. Okay. Even though I wasn't super comfortable with it, I was like, fine, it's like all the kids. But then, like halfway through the line, they then let all the parents pile in. And even though I was yelling for my 4-year-old to grab my 2-year-old's hand, which she did, the Easter bunny came out at that time. And so my 4-year-old was like, oh, Easter egg bunny, or Easter bunny, and lost my 2-year-old's hand. And after that, all the parents started filing in behind all the kids. And of course, all the parents are like going nuts, trying to like get to their kid and take pictures and like, I don't know what. And I started losing my shit. Like the people that were running it, I was like, I cannot find my 2-year-old. I need help finding my 2-year-old because I couldn't see her anymore in the crowd of kids and all the parents crowding behind them and like essentially squishing them. And then I told them, I was like, you need to hurry this whole situation up ASAP because I can't find my kid. So they like released all the kids, still couldn't find my daughter. I'm like, rummaging through, like scanning like the whole little lawn area for my 2-year-old. I could not find her. And you guys know, like if you guys are parents, like when you don't have eyes on your kids, like I'm already a pretty anxious person when it comes to my kids. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But when it comes to my kids, I'm already pretty anxious, but I was trying to remain super cool just to like find her ASAP. And the next thing you know, I turn around and like the security guard has my 2-year-old, which like, it's not a great sight. It's not like a great feeling at all. So I told the security guard that what they're doing is absolutely freaking absurd. And then I went to the people that seem to be in charge and I told them that what they are doing is absolutely fucking absurd. She tried to calm me down and take me to the office, and like it was really hard for me to calm down. Like I couldn't calm down, actually. I was so furious. And this probably by no means is like an advertisement for mindset coaching because I mean, I did not keep my cool. I was not trying to be collected. I was not, just trying to be aware and so on and so forth. No. After they took me into the office, like I told them like I just explained to them how completely idiotic their whole system was, and they were trying to explain things to me, and I told them if they thought that I didn't understand what their motivation was separating the kids and the parents, like they have, they got me fucked up. Like, hello, of course I know, but what they're doing is wrong, and they have no business running, a kids event if they don't know what the hell they're doing. That I had been to many egg hunts before, and when they do separate the kids so that the kids only get to go and rush all the eggs and the parents have to stay back, it's the fact that the parents actually stayed back and like nobody's bombarding the kids along with all the whole egg hunt or whatever. Like what they did was not okay. And I told them that I was not paying for that experience and to run me back my money ASAP and let me be on my way. But I was absolutely livid. I could hardly put my words together. So definitely not the best like mindset coach moment. And I didn't give a shit. What I am proud of myself for is the fact that like I advocated for my kid and I advocated for that experience, and I was able to actually speak up about what is right and what is wrong, and hopefully nobody else would following me would have that experience, and they would hopefully fix what they've done for whatever next round that they're going to do with the egg hunt. Like I was just way too hormonal and already way too anxious with when it comes to a lot of kids in one area and then obviously losing my kid. Any mom knows that once that happens, it's like, even though I stayed calm in that very moment, like, of course not. Of course, I wasn't calm afterwards when I found her. And I think part of coaching understands that, like, that's okay. Like, I'm allowed to feel my feelings. I obviously do wish that I could have communicated a little bit better and it calmed myself enough to communicate eloquently and accurately, but also I don't give a shit, frankly. And the reason that I think that this is important is because I do see quite a lot of moms not speak up for their kids, not be able to advocate for their kids. They have this kind of like good girl syndrome where it's like, oh, you don't like speak up or speak back to quote unquote authority. Like, hello, fucking jungle island managers. Like, they're not authority. I don't care if the security guard, F you, you're not authority. To who? To what? Like, what do you run? I don't think so. Like, when it comes to like, but even like my doctors or my kids' doctors and like whatever it is, I will always, like, I don't care who it is. It could be their own grandmother. I will tell everybody, I will always advocate for my kids, like 100%, 1,000% of the time, every single time. I will advocate for my kids. I don't care who I'm speaking with. And I see this so often with other mothers where they just don't advocate for their kids. They have, again, like that kind of good girl syndrome where they think they cannot speak up, or they think that they have to be polite, or that, somebody knows better than them. And something that I try to really help women with is just to be able to advocate for the things that they know is right, not to override their own intuition or how they like, and be honest with the way they feel about things. And I really attribute like my ability to do that to coaching because I have this awareness about it, and I also have the thought like, I don't give a fuck. At this point, I don't believe that anybody really knows what is best for my kids more than me. And that comes from just a motherly, very accurate motherly instinct, in the sense, and accurate in the sense of like, it's just a biological thing that I know that I have this connection to my kids, and nobody could tell me anything that I don't already know that is like kind of best for my kids. So not being scared to get in trouble, not being scared to speak up, or not being scared about what somebody might think about me has really served me in this sense, because I get to advocate for my children every day of their lives, that they will allow me to do that. And so I want to offer for you to just ponder this if you are a mother or aspire to be a mother, or even just in your day-to-day life, advocating for yourself, and what that looks like or doesn't look like, and ponder why you think that is. And like I mentioned before, it does have a little bit to do with like that good girl syndrome, like I just cannot speak up, or I shouldn't talk back, or I shouldn't go against authority. It's a very ingrained thing, especially in the United States. I don't know, I mean, like culturally, like there's a lot of hierarchy that comes with authority and things like that. And in the United States as well, like even like the schooling system is the only thing that I can reflect on. I have never been to school anywhere else, but we are conditioned with these bells and teachers and this and that, and to like, be the good girl and listen, and doctors always know best, and all policemen are good, and I don't know, like maybe it's a fault of mine, but I just don't believe it. Just because you have a uniform, I feel like it doesn't give you authority over, especially something like motherhood. And I think at this stage in our lives, with the amount of information that we have out there, it's like clear to see that I think the motherly instinct is going to be prime information more than anybody with a suit or badge or white coat, because it seems like, not all people with authority have our best interests in mind. We have to have that best interest for ourselves and for our families, and really overriding some of that conditioning and working on your mindset in regards to that will help you not just advocate for your kids, but also enhance that ability to tune into your intuition, trust what it's saying to you, and then act on that and evaluate. I hope that was useful. But the second the second story that I have is a little bit, it's funny, kind of funny, kind of not. But again, my 2-year-old, we were at the pool. We had just gotten to our pool here in our building, and my 2-year-old, I think because we just got there, that they had just put out all the toys and stuff like that. She's only 2. She has been potty trained for quite a while, but she actually went poo poo in the pool, and I didn't notice because we had just gotten there. And so, it happened quite quickly. And yeah, so I had to go and like wash her off. And then I had to call the concierge and stuff to come clean up the pool. But while I was waiting for that, I had to inform everybody that was going into the pool that my daughter had an accident and stuff like that. And there was one guy that was really giving me a hard time about it. And, although I thought it was completely unnecessary because there's not that much I could have done or controlled in regards to it. It happened again quite quickly. I'm usually pretty vigilant with her since she's still so young. But yeah, it would just happen so fast as soon as we got there. And so he was just making kind of a big deal about it and stuff. And I just kind of kept reiterating that, she's 2 years old. Like, we called downstairs, we kind of remedied the situation as best we could. And that was that. And part of me started feeling what a lot of us mothers can start to feel sometimes in those situations. If you've ever been on an airplane or in a restaurant and your kid is just going through it, maybe, having a meltdown, or, something is happening where you're just like, holy shit, like this is embarrassing. And then to make matters worse, people, there's onlookers, people are trying to shame you or tell you to tell your kid to pipe down or something like that, or just watching your kid have a full-blown meltdown in the aisle when you're trying to just be calm and be with them through their emotions. And you can really start to this is my second one, I'm going on my third, so I would say that I'm a little bit seasoned. And what I noticed with this, when that shame wanted to start bubbling up, I don't know, it was almost like, yeah, like a little spark started coming up, and then just something completely put it out like water. And I found so much safety within myself and certainty within myself in that moment, as a mother. And, I knew that I did everything that I could do. I knew that it was just an accident. I kind of checked all of those boxes of could I have done anything better? And the truth was no. And just because that person was being dramatic and trying to further shame me in that situation, I was just yeah, it's not gonna work. Even this poor guy next to me was like, hey, don't feel bad. I was about to say something to that guy if he kind of kept going. And I was like, oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. But this isn't my first rodeo, and I've dealt with many situations that were not pleasant. And I've had to sit, I didn't tell him this, but I've had to sit in that discomfort and face some of these people before. And I've just sat in enough discomfort, especially when it comes to my kids and feeling like a quote unquote bad mom or whatever, that and I've worked enough through all of that this guy trying to be dramatic about a situation, I mean, he was acting worse than my 2-year-old. So I just told him I'm, used to that in a sense, and there's nothing else I could do, and it's completely illogical the way he's acting, and he's just indulging in his own feelings. But I told him I appreciated it as a man, talking to me. And my husband wasn't there with me or whatever, but I mean, I told him, I wasn't afraid to have words with him if he kind of continued on. But, yeah, don't let anybody shame you as a mother. And again, like I said, this is easier said than done, especially in the beginning. I mean, even one of my friends has a newborn and stuff, and, just going out sometimes with kids already brings up so much anxiety. What if they go to the bathroom? What if they're hungry and you got to whip your boob out in public? Like so much anxiety kind of comes along with the territory even to begin with, because it's just such a new experience. But the more you just start understanding kind of like what your priorities are, what actually matters, and what you're willing to give your energy to, like the easier it becomes. One of the thoughts that has served me quite a bit is just letting people think what they want about me, right? And just sitting in that discomfort. And this obviously takes a lot of practice, a lot of uncomfortable times, and maybe even embarrassing moments. But just being okay with people being wrong about me, people having whatever thoughts they want to have about me, and being okay with that. Like just letting people have their experience about me. And just being okay, right? That takes an incredible amount of strength and inner strength and awareness to know about yourself, right? To develop that relationship within yourself of who you are and what your values are. Like, I have integrity. I know that I was going to do the best that I could in that situation. I feel like I did the best in that situation. I reported the incident. What else could I do, right? So I was 100% kind of sure within myself. And this random guy at the pool that was completely indulging his own feelings is not going to change that about me. So, really, it's hard in that moment, right? If you have not practiced these things, to give into those feelings of shame and like whatever. I even told the guy next to me, I was like, he is trying to make me feel bad. It almost worked. But like, I've just been here before and I've practiced this before, and he's allowed to feel whatever he wants about me. And I know that, my shits, no pun intended, are reserved for a few people in my life. And that's my daughters and my husband and maybe my mom. So again, like it's really, I'm trying to break this down almost like in a process of like, because I know that this is going to happen a lot on your motherhood journey from like the very beginning, since, the kid pops out and beyond. Right. And even like my last example of advocating for yourself, advocating for your kids, like that happens like as soon as that kid is like in your belly, you start having to advocate for yourself and start trusting yourself, first and foremost over anybody and anything. Right. Best. They're literally attached to you. They're in your womb. And so, you have to know what's right for you and what's right for your baby, and have that intuition and trust that intuition. And, the same thing goes for, when your baby's outside of you, like you have to start, understanding that what matters and whose opinion matters most. And it should be yours first and foremost. Like, decide what energy you have for things like this. And then, and who, is responsible for that, or like has access to that energy, right? And who does not, right? Because if anybody else, tries to consume that energy in any kind of way, that is not the people that you have listed, that have a right to that energy, then they don't matter. In general, when you start defining things like this, right? They're so weird and nuanced and like whatever. It's like, who takes the time to do this? Oh, I don't know. Only me. I don't know, maybe. But when you really start thinking about it, you're going to have these situations quite often. So even though they're kind of a weird thing to do and like, think about and dwell on or whatever, I obviously ponder a lot about like life situations like this. And so I have, done that in the sense that I have defined a lot of these things for myself. But when you do, it serves you so much, because then you know exactly how to use your energy and when to use it. And again, it takes practice, right? But you know that the reason you are feeling any shame in any moment in terms of like your kid doing something that kids do, right? You know that at that point you are kind of outsourcing that power to the people that are onlooking, and to take that back by deciding if that is going to matter to you or not. So even though I did feel bad that they had to close down the whole pool, they literally had caution tape around the whole pool. But it was like late, like it was already like 5:30 p.m. The pool closed at, the sun goes down at like 7 or whatever, and pool closes at 9. So like I felt bad, but again, what can I do? Like I felt more bad that just like I had to close down, and people had to like get out of the pool. A couple of people, there's like literally 2 people in the pool. Um, like yeah, like I could feel empathetic a little bit for, the people that had to be inconvenienced. However, I was not going to feel bad that my daughter had an accident, and that was that. So let yourself be the most important person in your kid's life. Let your intuition be the most the you know the strongest voice in your head. Let yourself be the most important person when it comes to what you think about you. And I think that it will really, really help you. And these are how the, coaching and mindset has played a really big role in motherhood, for me at least. The third thing would be communication and awareness. First of all, awareness, obviously. The more like what something huge that mindset coaching does is it helps you become more aware of yourself, right? Develop that relationship with yourself, why you tick the way you talk, right? And so the more you could do that, actually, the more you start getting better at things like communication. And communication is like one of the keys to all relationships. And for me, right, it's like somebody who has anxiety when it comes to their kids, and right now is extremely hormonal and things like that. I have to be quite aware of those things and be able to communicate with my partner, specifically in terms of like when I need support or when I'm not like doing well, and like yeah, mostly just when I need support. Being able to communicate has, profoundly impacted my relationship for the better. I noticed that the times that I am falling short on my communication abilities or skills is when that relationship suffers, because ultimately I can only really depend on myself to be that kind of communicator. I can only kind of depend on myself to be aware of myself. Men are just not as empathetic, especially a very masculine man like my husband. He understands things a lot more logically, like most men do. So if I cannot translate a lot of my emotions into a logical format like words, then it's going to really take a toll. For us to expect men in general, or our partners, whatever, to be able to have those abilities, right, is going to be a big waste of time, almost, I guess you want to say, like, or you're just going to waste a lot of your time and each other's time. And it could be detrimental the more time that goes by and the more conversations you guys have or don't have. If you don't work on that awareness and those communication skills. Ultimately, you're also giving away your power again, thinking that somebody's going to be able to read your mind and read your emotions. And it's like something that I see many women try to do and have their partners do. Like, well, if he doesn't know why I'm mad, then I'm not going to explain it to him. Or they don't say anything and keep everything bottled up until one day they explode, and then they really can't, like, those men really can't hear anything, because then they just hear a nagging, woman, like, barking at them. Like, it's just not going to work, ladies. Okay. So, it is really up to us to hone the energy that we have in terms of our emotions. Our emotions are very, very, a very powerful thing that we embody. It is the key to so much of who we are as feminine beings. And if we do not hone that energy, we really are giving away our power. That is our power to hone. And the better that we can become aware of those emotions and also communicate those things and what our needs are and like how we're feeling or whatever, then the better relationships we're going to have, the better experiences we're going to have, the better life we're going to have. Like right now, especially, I'm struggling quite a bit with fatigue and nausea and a lot of things having to do with my hormones and stuff. And I only expect my husband to be so patient with me. If I cannot communicate like what is going on with me, then it would cause conflicts for sure. These are sensitive times that we as women have to go through and navigate. So it's really, really important for us to have developed those skill sets, right? It is a skill that we have developed that hopefully holds some memory, some muscle memory through some of the more difficult times when there's hormones at play and just some things that we are not completely in control of. And like, lately I've had to communicate like, hey, like I just can't cook, dinner. I can't, it's very hard for me to wake up and like, do this for the kids. Like it's really killing me, like not to be able to do the things that I'm used to be able to do like physically. And just being able to communicate even a little bit of that, my husband fills in the blanks for the rest of it and then is able to provide a solution for me and support me during this time. He like went out and got like meal prep, like meals for like the kids and for himself, and is like, don't worry, like, right, like, and even though all as an anxious girly in terms of like when it comes to my kids, of course I worry, but it helps so much to know that I can communicate whatever it is that I'm going through and potentially what I need if I can think that far, if I have enough kind of capacity mentally to do that. But nonetheless, it goes very far just being able to at least communicate what is going on within you, especially in motherhood when there's so many hormones and chemicals coming into play that, again, you don't really have a lot of control of. So my mindset has really, and like coaching with my mindset and everything like that has really helped me be more aware of myself and what I need. And then it's helped me be able to communicate effectively with my partner during times where especially I am more vulnerable. And lastly, again, because I am mad preggers, the tools that I have for like mindset and stuff have been so great during this time when I'm navigating, really difficult emotions and really difficult bodily feelings like, nausea and just pains and fatigue and things like that. I have used EFT to help me through my nausea. And it was interesting. It gave me some awareness of like what was happening with myself in terms of my emotions. It seems like, when I was, because I the way I do EFT is like I don't really write down what script I'm going to use. I just let it come to me intuitively in that moment in terms of what I'm feeling. And when I was tapping in like the positive, what came up for me was like I'm allowed to have a healthy pregnancy that's not, and be comfortable, right? And like have a healthy body and a healthy pregnancy and feel good and have a healthy pregnancy. So it was like obviously there was something in me that was thinking like if I don't feel bad, if I'm not suffering, then I'm not going to I'm not having a healthy pregnancy, like something might be wrong, right? So that could come from programming or who knows what it comes from, but it was really nice to like kind of tap that in and become aware of what's going on. I've also been using hypnosis to really prepare myself and just find relaxation and release any like kind of negativity I have, especially with the hormones and stuff that just make me feel a certain way. So I downloaded an app. Maybe I'll share it with you guys. What is it called? I guess it's called Blessed, but it's like a pregnancy and sleep app. So when I'm putting my daughters to sleep and I'm just like waiting in their room for them to fall asleep, I pop that into my ears and I listen to some hypnosises and stuff like that. And it's been really nice to just feel a little bit of ease and stuff. And I've only done it like a few days in a row. So I've only done a few of the hypnosises, but they are very relaxing. And I really have been loving the ones that I've done, the visualizations in them and stuff like that. They're really nice. And I used these, I didn't use EFT last time, but I did use hypnosis last time to prepare my body for pregnancy. For labor, I mean. And I also used goal and future timeline technique to have a really great labor and it totally worked. I had a really great labor experience despite the epidural botch, but other than that, it was all great, like clockwork. But yeah, so I've been using a lot of hypnosis and EFT to kind of get me through this first trimester and some of those uncomfortable feelings and also discomfort in my body with all the symptoms. So just having these tools and not feeling so helpless almost, right? Because I was, really feeling a lot of nausea with what I was going through. And I was frantically trying to search for remedies, of how to feel better essentially. And nothing was working, right? I was trying all the gingers, all the magnesiums, all the everything. Finally, I tried some Dramamine, and that actually helped tremendously. But yeah, and like I'm switching out my prenatals and potentially only going to be supplementing my vitamins and stuff, like not in one prenatal, but maybe like in a few different types of like supplements, because I can't take the iron. My body cannot take the iron. It doesn't need it. So I don't want to be over supplementing for no reason. So it was another part of what was kind of causing a lot more of that nausea. So yeah, just having these tools this time around that I'm able to use, especially EFT, because it's such an easy tool to just start tapping on myself. Like, I mean, I'm doing it all like in the car and like in the bathroom, So it's really, really helpful. It really, really uses, it's very, very useful and easy. And it also helps a lot with my anxiety. I'm a anxious mom. I would say I would say I'm a normal person and maybe an anxious mom. Don't I don't want to lose my anxiety when it comes to my, being a mother and having my daughters and stuff like that. I think that my anxiety is useful in this sense, and it only comes from protecting them and stuff like that. So I'm just like when I say anxiety, it's like I'm just very hyper vigilant when we're out and about, especially like amongst a lot of kids and stuff like that. So I don't necessarily think it's bad, but sometimes it does, I would say, make me a little bit more reactive, only when I'm solo parenting as well. So I'm aware of a lot of the things. And again, like nobody's perfect. I don't think that anything has to be 100% perfect and whatever. And you are allowed to work on things when you feel like they don't serve you anymore. And I feel like right now that anxiety serves me in keeping my daughters safe and protected and having the best experience for them, the best childhood for them. And again, I wouldn't, I like, again, like I think that my anxiety served me, the day at the egg hunt, when I was able to like, advocate for myself and my kids and know that something was not 100% right. And even though she was missing for only like 2.2 seconds, it felt like a lifetime. But again, I feel like having that anxiety gives me a little bit of edge and awareness when it comes to my girls, and I'm fine with that. So having these tools, having this ability to say how I want to, what I want to believe, how I want to think, how I want to feel, through anything, and just being okay with my decisions, being okay with, and like understanding, that my intuition is probably the best indicator of what's best for my kids, and also that my opinion matters the most out of anybody that I will ever encounter, has helped me so much. And that all is what comes with really focusing and doing the work on your mindset, doing the work on the things that you believe, and the emotions that you feel throughout your life. So I hope you guys love this episode of a more lifestyle based examples of mindset coaching when it comes to motherhood. Let me know what you guys think and what your favorite takeaways were. I really would appreciate any feedback. All right. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Thanks for listening, Ambitious Babe. If you loved this episode, take a screenshot and share your favorite takeaways with me at Julia Garcia Devaney, and be sure to leave us a review, as that would mean so much. And if you're ready to put the Zen back into your hustle and love your ambitious journey, be sure to download the Get Zen AF app, where you'll learn to prioritize yourself and truly become the number one asset in your life and business. It's available in the App Store and Google Play. Check out the links in the show notes, and I'll see you inside.